you kind of cheered for him just because of the way he played. CFL Hall of Famer. He had a 15-year career. He won 2 Grey Cups, 1,051 receptions, 13,778 yards, and 71 touchdowns with the Stamps and the Alouettes. He's also been a coach in the CFL with the BC Lions and the Calgary Stampeders. On the Western Pizza Guest Hotline, we welcome in Nick Lewis. Nick, how are you? Thanks for doing this.
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Not bad at all. So, 1,000 receptions, 13,000 yards, 71 touchdowns. That's a lot. Is there one of those touchdowns that stands out in your mind that is just etched in there that won't go away?
My first one at Taylor Field, my first game. I caught a ball on an out route for a touchdown. I went and hit the goalpost. I bounced off the goalpost like Ric Flair with my 1, 2, 3 and my woo. That's my first ever celebration in the CFL. So I'll always remember that one.
Who was the quarterback that threw you that touchdown?
Marcus Crandall.
Marcus Crandall spent some time with the Riders. Nice.
Yep.
Nice. There's a lot of talk about your former quarterback, Bo Levi Mitchell, who we'll get to in a second. Nick, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is always respected you as a player, but I love your commentary now on the CFL. We're 10 weeks into the season. What do you make of it so far? Because you've played, you've coached. Where are we at with you as far as the 2025 version of what's happening on the field?
I like what a lot of teams are doing. A lot of plays are being made, a lot more than years past. And, I've been pretty open about the game changing 11 years ago when they changed the rules of pass interference. And it just takes away so many big play opportunities. And you watch games where teams go 2 and out, 2 and out, 2 and out, drive, 2 and out, 2 and out, 2 and out, drive. And it kind of gets mundane sometimes because you want to see some big plays. But you don't see big plays unless somebody's going to make a mistake or somebody can get in a second and short, create a man-to-man opportunity because the run game is a possibility, and then they're taking shots down the field. So, Calgary hasn't really made the big play since Alford's been out those last couple of weeks. So it's really affected their offense on getting the ball down the field that much. So, Tevin Jones made some good ones last week, but just consistently getting down the field, it's been difficult for teams.
Now, you were a receiver, and it's not like you're ever going to feel bad for a defender. And we see this so much in the NFL, and a little bit in the CFL. Are the rules slanted more towards the offense, where the defensive guys are always seems to be on their heels, and it's always on them for the mistakes and the penalties?
100%. If you look at the whole CFL game, it's slated towards offense. I think defense have done a great job of being able to contain offenses, keeping scores pretty low with the best teams in the league. You watch Saskatchewan's defense, you watch Calgary's defense. They keep teams pretty low scoring and create turnovers and just more scoring opportunities. It's not easy to get 10 yards and 2 downs all the time consistently. And that's why I try to explain to a lot of people, you can almost break down field position in the CFL for points. Right. And you have less than a 10% chance to score, probably less than 5% chance if you get the ball backed up inside your own 15 or 10-yard line. Not just because you can't, but it's hard to go first down, first down, first down, first down, first down. You get 5 first downs, you're still punting the ball, unless you got Castillo kicking field goals. But it's a interesting play on where teams are getting the ball, which teams create short fields for themselves to maximize points opportunity. And it's fun to just watch and see how the game plays out. I felt like so far this year, the hardest part to watch is at the end of games when the game should be at its best. Mistakes are losing games. Toronto, 11 men on the field. You got teams that's really making BC versus Montreal. Montreal's guard goes and hits 2 people late and gets a penalty. BC gets the ball near midfield and goes and scores to win the game. Right, so you're seeing bad plays at the end of games create losing situations for teams that they should have won that game.
When we have Charleston Hughes on, he talks about when he broke into the league and those teams that you guys played on with the Stamps. You never wanted to make a mistake. You never wanted to show you were hurt and have your backup come in. You never wanted to be on the field. And like you had mentioned, mistakes, discipline. Under Huff, back then, you wouldn't play, he said, if you were making those mental mistakes. Is it coaching? Is it the players? Like, where's the breakdown happening?
I think it has to do with culture and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Understanding where that line is drawn, but I think your leaders in the locker room have to set the line. I don't think coaches can really go too far and really, you can find people, you can say whatever you want to say, but at the end of the day, it becomes the players, the top players on the team, the leaders, to police the locker room and be able to drive that success forward. And one thing's changed is Huff's rule was starters play special teams. Everybody's going to play one special teams if you're a starter, and you're going to come out on offense or defense before you come out on special teams, right? It's too big of an opportunity to give up a big play. It's too big of an opportunity to not capitalize on a big play. And if you need a break, you'll take it on offense or defense. You won't take it on special teams. And to see the league now where you really don't see starters on special teams, right? It's really no starters that really play a lot of special teams. I know Tevin runs down in Calgary, which is really good. But, when you see 4 or 5 receivers that don't touch the field in special teams, it's crazy. I remember Jermaine Copeland on kickoff return. I was on punt return and doing things, trying to block kicks and blocking people running down the field. So everybody bought into the system. And, I mean, if your best players are your starters, the more plays are on the field, the better you're going to be. It does leave you at risk for more injuries now, but at the end of the day, it's about winning championships.
It's funny that you say that. I don't know that I knew that. Maybe everybody else knew that Huff made everybody play special teams. There was that debate online a few weeks ago, and I can't remember after what game, talking about usually the defensive line of most teams is mostly made up of Americans, and a lot of offensive lines are made up of Canadians. And so you're getting some of the best on best, which caused that to be, and we've seen that change out, and we've seen the game change, and it evolved. Is it evolved because it had to, or is it evolved because people are thinking, hey, let's try this scenario here? Was it out of necessity or creativity that we're seeing a different CFL?
Well, I just think the American defensive linemen, even for most part, the Canadian defensive linemen as well, are way more athletic. The offensive line is still the same. You get some more athletes on the O line, but they're really the same body builds, the same, it's just a different name on the back of a jersey, but they're all about the same skill level. That really hurts the game, right? Because you're not having Joe Montfort or Swag that's 260 or 250 playing. You got a Charleston Hughes at 225. You got a Sean Lemon at 230. These guys. Like, I look at Ottawa's line. Carter is amazing to me. He doesn't get talked about enough, and he does a lot of their work on their defensive line. Malzahn gets a lot of the Alonzo. He gets a lot of the pub, but he's just a hard worker, right? He's physical, he's strong, and he works hard, and he doesn't stop. Right, Malden is his name. Sorry about that, but
Yeah, Malden.
it's one of those days when you watch him play, how much better Carter is as an individual talent and how much more trouble he gives every line. If you get a strong guy in front of Malden, he'll be able to maintain it. But Carter's just a different beast. So when you get some of these guys, it's very hard and difficult. And something else that people don't talk about, the NFL changed their rule a few years ago where it's no longer a 2-year practice roster. So now they're hoarding offensive linemen. Where it used to be they're on PR for 2 years, and now they're coming up here to play and playing 6 or 7 years. Now those guys are being PR guys for 5, 6 years, and by then they don't want to come up, right? So now there's a shortage of linemen, and then you get the UFL that's taking linemen, right? So now when you add a league, and then you take some of the best linemen from the NFL, some of that second-tier linemen that can come up here and do really well, they're no longer coming up because they're staying around on practice roster longer.
Nick Lewis is joining us here on the Sports Cage on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. A few weeks ago, Cody Fajardo gave up 8 sacks. And you came out on social media after the game, and it was a bit of a firestorm. And I'm like, Nick, you were great on the field, and you're great on the keyboard too. And you had said, hey, Cody takes a lot of those sacks so he doesn't kill his completion percentage. Do you want? I'll leave it at that. Do you want to expand on that? You would know better than I. Sometimes he could throw the ball away. It looks like maybe I don't see everything watching the game on TV. You see it differently. Explain.
Well, I look at it as if you watch Cody early in his career, his first couple years, he had to really understand how he becomes a starting quarterback and how he stays on the field, right?
Yeah.
And looking at the numbers that most coaches looked at, and you got to be efficient, you got to be able to complete passes and do things. And when Cody's not an uber accurate quarterback, right? He's a great leader. He has great intangibles, and he finds a way to win games in the fourth quarter. When a game's on the line, Cody's one of those guys that you would love to have as your quarterback because he'll scramble, he'll run, he'll do everything to win games. But the rest of the game, he doesn't have a super strong arm. People know that. And I'm not saying that the O-line is better than anybody else or worse than anybody else, but at the end of the day, he's 71% right now. If he throws those passes away, he might be in the 50s, low 60s. And then when he's in the low 60s, what are they saying? Well, Cody out here completing 62% of his passes, and now what's happening to Cody's career is he's no longer a starting quarterback, right? As long as it's a debate on whose fault it is between the O-line, the running back, or his fault, it's not purely on him. But if he's 60, 62% completion percentage, that's on him. And I believe that's why he chooses not to throw the ball away, because I think he's found that in order for me to be a starter in this league, I have to complete passes at a higher percentage.
I instantly thought when I read that, and I was reading all the replies, somewhere along the way, when you're an agent negotiating for your client who's a quarterback, completion percentage comes in for the amount of money they're going to pay you. Are you an efficient quarterback? So I went to money first, not necessarily the explanation you gave to be like, well, yeah, if you're a goalie, you want a good goals against average. Nobody wants to sign a guy that's got a 4.5 goals against. You want a 2.82 and a crazy save percentage.
And nobody cares if the defense gave up the goal, right? Nobody cares if your defenseman fell down and you gave up or if you had a goal, late in the game where it's a breakaway. Nobody cares about those. They don't remember. They just know the numbers.
The talk of the CFL is the renaissance or the resurgence of Bo Levi Mitchell. And I love Bo. But let's go back in time. In the Nick Lewis time machine, first impression of Bo Levi Mitchell when he showed up in Stamps camp, or your first interaction, what did you come away with when you first met Bo?
It was good. He was a fellow Texan. You could tell that he was very confident. You don't see many young quarterbacks in training camp throwing the ball down the field as much as he did, but he showcased his arm. And I was used to guys having strong arms like that with Henry Burris. And, him coming into camp, there's no two quarterbacks you'd rather be behind than Drew Tate and Kevin Glenn. One, because they're super talented quarterbacks and great quarterbacks, but two, they're selfless. Right? They took Bo under their wing. They talked to Bo, like they helped him along the process that whole way. And then having the pieces around Bo that we had with Romby Bryant, myself, and Markway McDaniel, John Cornish, and others on that offense, like it was great to be able to bring him into what we had as a core. And then nobody remembers he played a couple games in 2012, played a couple games in 2013. And then didn't start till his third year. So I believe that process of waiting, seeing the league, understanding the league, being in the same offense for multiple years before he got his starts really helped Bo. Like you could tell instantly that he had something about him that was pretty spectacular. And I mean, he's got 2 years in a row over 5,000. I don't call it resurgence. I think he just hadn't had the defense to kind of, he's a gunslinger. You need a defense to stop some late touchdowns.
Charleston's mentioned that before, that Calgary used to do that. Talking about Mike Rose, they were able to take him under their wing for a couple of years, played specials, and just learned, where he said now the time frame is so sped up. You can't keep good guys on the sidelines anymore because guys aren't going to stick around. Everybody wants it now, now, now. But back then, yeah, I suppose a lot of people, we just think Bo Levi Mitchell came into the league, instantly was Bo from the start. Not that he had to wait his 2 years. Okay, so let's get to 2014 when things do start clicking and going. Because keep in mind, I'm a Ryder fan this whole time, and I'm watching this to be like, nah, this doesn't seem fair. No, he can't. And then winning game after game after game. Nick, a lot of people didn't like you guys. You were making it look too easy. And I don't know that pro sports is ever easy.
No, but if you look at it from a perspective, is everybody thinks Bo's really cocky, but if you look at the rest of us, with me and Cornish, people didn't like us very much and thought we were cocky and everything. But looking at that, Bo kind of just fit into the group, understanding that there was a belief that he could win games, and he had proven that in the couple games that he started in 12 and 13. So to be able to go out and prove that, build that confidence, to know that you can get it done. It was a pretty special thing to watch Bo transcend into that. And then to, be a first-year starter in 2014 to go win that Grey Cup was really special.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had our moment in the sun in 2013, which led the way for you guys. You had a great career. And one of the things that I loved about you as a receiver is what you brought to the game. But then when you started trucking guys in blocking and just mowing guys down without mercy, without fail, here comes another Nick Lewis. Oh, some poor guy didn't watch tape. And there it goes. Did you always play like that? Or did something click inside you to be like, all right, you're next?
I played in the option offense in college, and when I got there, we threw the ball 14 times a game. So blocking was a way of life, and it was like, I can't just be a better receiver. I got to go. I want to build a complete game. And for me, it was about a journey to find out what is the best version of me. Like, that's what I'm on a journey on. Like, I'm trying to improve different aspects of my game. What is the best version of Nick Lewis when we're on the field? And blocking is a part of it. And if you think about it, most receivers, 3% of the game, they might get the ball thrown their way. If you're lucky, 10% of the game. But the other 90%, you're running to get somebody else open or you're blocking for somebody. So having amazing receivers around me, Romby, Jermaine, and Kenyon, and Ryan Thelwell and others. And then even when I went to Montreal with Fred Stamps and S.J. Green, it's like I was blessed to have a great receivers around me at all times. And for me, it was like, okay, how do you stand out? How do you become a great player? And if I'm only getting 3 balls today, I can't say, hey, I'm not great because I'm not getting the ball. That's not fair to everybody else. So I knew that my role was to be a dog, and my role was to go out there and set the tone. And the tone was physicality. The tone was, just let everybody know what type of day it was going to be. And for me, that was it was special. Because the older guys that, and I say they're older, they were 20. Cope was 26 when I was there, and I was 22, so he was older than me. And watching him go make plays and watching us have chance to win games was special. And then I was blessed to have some great running backs, and John Cornish and Joffrey Reynolds and Tyrell Sutton and others. So Wes Cates, and it was fun to be able to go out and block for guys like that, because I knew my block could be the block that gives them the distance.
You had a 15-year CFL career. You saw it in different modes of popularity. You played for the Stampeders when it was hard to get a seat at McMahon. 33,000 tickets would be gone and sold out. Now it's a different story. You were a player there. You were a coach there for the past couple of years. Do you think, for the Edmontons, the Calgarys, is there a way to restore the roar back for these CFL teams and have the stands full again? Or is 10 to 12,000 people going to be the norm in these big cities?
I think, one, you need a new stadium, and everybody likes experiences. We like history, but when you're going through it year after year, you like experiences. I remember times where we lost 3 home games in 2 years. So people just expected we were going to win. Oh, they're going to win anyway. But now more than ever, in that location, you got people going to the mountains more on weekends, right? More events during the week that you got to compete with now in Calgary on weekends. There's everybody's got options. They travel more, they do more. Families go camping and do things. So it's not the same thing as it was. Hey, we're going to go to Stampeders games and we might go camping one weekend. Now people are going camping for a month. They're leaving town for the whole month and they're coming back. So it's a lot more to deal with. I think the product on the field is you need a winning team to create that aura. As you get closer to the playoffs, you'll see fans starting to come in more. Now that school's going to be going back in the next month, around Labor Day, you should be able to see an uptick in fans a little bit. But I think you just have to keep trucking along and keep providing that. But I truly believe if you had a new stadium, it would create a different aura because it would create a new place to be, right? And everybody wants to be in a new place to be and see what that is.
Yeah, last time I was at McMahon, there was more porta potties there than you see at Craven. And I'm like, what has happened here? Is there no more indoor plumbing at McMahon Stadium? But has it been that long since the 2009 Grey Cup? What has happened? All right, so let's chat about Saturday. Hamilton comes to town from both sides. What does Hamilton have to do to knock off the Riders? And then we'll go the Riders side. If you're in that coaching room for the Ticats, what's your game plan going to be to beat Mason and his Rider squad this year?
I mean, you have to establish a run game, and that's the hard part because Hamilton doesn't run the ball very much. But if you can establish a run game to really soften up the defense and let Bo take his shots, I think that's the best way for them to win. And defensively, is Emilus back, or what is the firepower that the Riders have? Because right now they're finding a way to win games, and it's a three-phased approach. Defenses create short fields, they'll get field goals, they'll get opportunities, but it's really hard for SAS to be consistent on offense without Sean Bain hadn't played a game this year. Emilus has been out. Safer Baker got hurt in the first game this year, right? So understanding when you're missing that type of talent, and especially Canadian talent, it's very hard to go out and be consistent on the offensive side of the ball. But I think Hamilton established the run game, and on defense, they just have to be able to put pressure on Trevor and make him make mistakes.
What do you got to do to I don't know if you can contain him. You can corral, because Bo's a cowboy from Texas. You can corral him, but then you also have Kenny Lawler to worry about. How are we going to attack the Hamilton Ticats, Nick Lewis?
Ooh. It's a high-powered offense. It's fun because it reminds me a lot of what we did in Calgary. Even seeing Keandre Smith, doing what he's doing. Other than Kenny Lawler, Tim White's still over there, who doesn't play consistently as well as he used to, but he still has those games where he'll come out, he'll put up 100 and something, and it's like, man, he had a game today, right? So they do have a lot of firepower over there. They use a lot of different packages. They got a 6'8" dude that just, he can come in, he can block, he can catch the ball down the field. So offensively, they have a lot of firepower, and it's very, very tough to stop. But I think that SAS will be able to get pressure with 4 or 5, which really helps them out because then you don't get a lot of singles in the back end, and it won't put them in too vulnerable. Right? You got to keep Hamilton in second and long.
All right. Nick Lewis on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. Nick, thank you for doing this. I hope we can do this again before the season is out. This is fantastic. We love the insight. And keep in mind, now we have somebody to fact check Charleston Hughes' stories from the old days, because we don't believe Wikipedia because he says he has more sacks than Wikipedia. And there's a lot of stuff we need to corroborate because we don't know if it's truth or fiction sometimes with Mr.
Hey, just let him know he's the second best. He's the second best sack master in Calgary history behind Will Johnson.
Uh-oh, that sounds like fighting words. Now I'm going to get a text.
They're tied at 99, too, in Stampeder history. That's the funny part. Huff traded Charleston when he's tied at 99 with Will Johnson.
Oh, man. Fighting words on the Sports Cage. Nick Lewis, thank you. It's time to take a break. When we come back.
Peace,
Aaron Stankiewicz.